Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that every word you have ever typed, every search you have ever made, every conversation you have had in the privacy of your own home has been recorded, analyzed, and stored by someone you will never meet. Imagine a world where your television watches you back, where cameras follow your every movement through the streets, where algorithms know what you are thinking before you even finish the thought. Now imagine being told this is for your own safety, for your protection, for the greater good. You would call that a dystopian nightmare, right? A terrifying work of fiction. Except here is the uncomfortable truth. In 1949, a dying man in a cold Scottish farmhouse wrote a novel describing exactly this world. His name was George Orwell. The book was called 1984. And what he predicted 75 years ago is no longer fiction. It is happening right now. Every single day. Often with your consent. Often without you even noticing. Welcome to Books to Actions, where we turn pages into wisdom. Today, we are diving into one of the most prophetic and disturbing books ever written. A novel that was meant to be a warning, but may have become an instruction manual. By the end of this breakdown, you will never look at your phone, your newsfeed, or your government the same way again. This is 1984, and its message has never been more urgent. George Orwell wrote 1984 while he was dying of tuberculosis, coughing blood onto his manuscripts, racing against his own mortality to finish his final masterpiece. He had witnessed the rise of totalitarianism firsthand. He had fought in the Spanish Civil War. He had seen how ordinary people could be manipulated into betraying everything they believed in. And he was terrified, not of a foreign invasion, not of nuclear war. He was terrified of something far more insidious, the slow, creeping death of truth itself. In his novel, the world has been divided into 3 superstates locked in perpetual war. We follow Winston Smith, a low-ranking member of the ruling party in Oceania, whose job is to rewrite history. Every day, he alters newspaper articles, changes photographs, and deletes people from existence so that the past always matches whatever the party currently claims is true. Big Brother, the omnipresent leader, whose face stares down from every poster and every telescreen, may or may not actually exist. It does not matter. What matters is that everyone believes, and those who do not believe are made to believe, or they simply disappear. What Orwell created was not just a story. It was a surgical dissection of how power works, how truth dies, and how freedom is erased, not with a bang, but with a whisper. Let us begin with the first and perhaps most terrifying concept in the book. Big Brother is watching you. Those 5 words have become so embedded in our culture that we use them almost casually. But do you truly understand what Orwell was warning us about? In 1984, every citizen lives under constant surveillance. Telescreens in every room broadcast propaganda while simultaneously recording everything that happens. Microphones are hidden everywhere. Even facial expressions are monitored. The thought police can detect disloyalty through the slightest twitch, the wrong kind of smile, a flicker of doubt in your eyes. The party knows that if you watch people constantly, you do not just see what they do. You change what they do. You change who they are. People begin to perform. They smile when they should smile. They cheer when they should cheer. They report their neighbors, their friends, even their own children. And eventually, there is no difference between the performance and the person. The surveillance becomes internalized. You police yourself. Now consider this. The average person today appears on camera 70 times per day in major cities. Your smartphone tracks your location constantly, even when you think it is turned off. Your smart speaker is always listening for its wake word, which means it is always listening. Your browsing history, your purchase history, your social media activity, all of it is recorded, analyzed, and used to build a profile of who you are, what you fear, what you desire, and how you can be influenced. In China, a social credit system monitors citizens and rewards or punishes them based on their behavior, their purchases, their associations. Low scores mean you cannot buy train tickets, cannot get loans, cannot travel freely. But before you think this is just a problem over there, consider this. Insurance companies in Western nations are already adjusting premiums based on data harvested from fitness trackers and driving apps. Employers scan social media before hiring. Banks use algorithms to assess your personality. The difference between 1984 and 2024 is not that we have escaped Big Brother. It is that we invited Big Brother in. We bought him on credit. We carry him in our pockets. We let him sleep in our bedrooms. And we call it convenience. The second concept Orwell introduced is perhaps even more insidious, and it is called Newspeak. In the novel, the party is actively reducing the English language, eliminating words every year, simplifying grammar, destroying the ability to express complex ideas. Why? Because thought is dependent on language. If you do not have a word for freedom, can you truly conceive of being free? If there is no word for rebellion, can you organize a revolution? The party's goal is to make Thoughtcrime literally impossible. Not because they have controlled every mind, but because they have removed the mental tools needed to think dangerous thoughts. The vocabulary shrinks, the range of consciousness shrinks with it, good and ungood. Plus good and double plus good. That is all you need. That is all you are allowed. Now look around you today. How many words have we lost? How many concepts have been stripped of nuance? Political discourse has been reduced to slogans and hashtags. Complex arguments are compressed into tweets. Algorithms reward the most extreme, the most simplified, the most emotionally charged content because that is what generates engagement. We speak in memes. We argue in sound bites. We cancel rather than debate. And every year, our collective attention span shrinks. Studies show that the average attention span has dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds today. That is less than a goldfish. Language is not just being simplified. It is being weaponized. Words are redefined to mean their opposites. Peace is advertised through war. Freedom is promised through surveillance. Equality is enforced through discrimination. And if you question these contradictions, you are the one who is accused of spreading misinformation. Orwell called this doublethink, and we will get to that soon. But first, understand that the erosion of language is not accidental. Every time your ability to express a complex idea is reduced, your ability to think that idea is reduced. Every time nuance is replaced with a binary, your freedom shrinks. Newspeak is not science fiction. It is your Twitter feed. It is your algorithm. It is the slow lobotomy of public discourse happening in real time. The third concept is the one that chills me the most, and it is the concept of the thought police and Thoughtcrime. In 1984, it is not enough to obey the party. You must love the party. You must believe in the party. Not just outwardly, but in the deepest corners of your mind. The thought police do not just arrest you for what you do. They arrest you for what you think, what you might do, what you might someday feel. Winston is eventually caught not because of a specific act of rebellion, but because of his internal doubts, his secret journal, his private thoughts. And the punishment is not death. Death would be too easy, too dignifying. The punishment is Room 101, where you are confronted with your deepest fear until your mind breaks, until you betray everything you love, until you become a hollow shell who genuinely loves Big Brother. The party does not want martyrs. It wants converts. Now think about cancel culture. Think about the demand not just for apologies, but for genuine moral transformation. Think about the social media pylons that punish not just words, but suspected intentions. The algorithmic systems that flag content for deletion, not based on what was said, but on what might be implied. The deplatforming of individuals not for violating laws, but for expressing unfashionable opinions. The expanding definition of harm that now includes making someone uncomfortable, causing offense, or questioning mainstream narratives. We may not have a formal thought police yet, but we have something arguably worse. A distributed, voluntary, crowdsourced enforcement system where everyone watches everyone, where reputation can be destroyed in hours, where the accusation is the verdict and the punishment is permanent. Orwell understood that the most effective prisons are the ones we do not see, the ones we build ourselves, the ones we staff with our own neighbors, and the walls are made not of steel, but of fear. Fear of speaking, fear of thinking, fear of being wrong. Before we dive into the most controversial part of this book, if you are finding value in this breakdown, consider subscribing to Books to Actions. We analyze the world's most powerful books, so you do not have to read them all. Join us, turn on notifications, and let us continue. Now we arrive at doublethink, the psychological core of Orwell's nightmare. Doublethink is the ability to hold two completely contradictory beliefs in your mind simultaneously and to accept both of them as true. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. These are not just slogans. They are the operating system of totalitarianism. The party demands that you believe whatever you are told to believe, even when it contradicts what you believed yesterday, even when it contradicts what you can see with your own eyes. And the truly terrifying part is that doublethink is not just for the masses. It is for the party members themselves. They must genuinely believe the contradictions. They must sincerely forget that they are lying. This is not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy requires awareness of the truth. Doublethink requires the destruction of awareness itself. And we are swimming in doublethink today. We are told that more surveillance makes us more free, that more censorship creates more open discourse, that more centralized power creates more democracy. We are told to follow the science while scientific debate is suppressed, told to trust experts while expertise is defined as agreement with authority, told that war is humanitarian intervention and occupation is peacekeeping. We watch pharmaceutical companies pay billions in criminal fines and then demand we trust them completely. We see politicians move seamlessly from government to lobbying and back again while insisting there is no corruption. We are told inflation is good for us, debt is wealth, and questioning is dangerous. The doublethink is so pervasive that most people do not even notice the contradictions anymore. They flow through us like water through a fish. And that is exactly how it is supposed to work. The fifth concept is the memory hole, and it connects to something happening right now as you watch this video. In 1984, Winston works at the Ministry of Truth, which is of course dedicated to lies. His job is to alter historical records. When the party changes an alliance, he must rewrite every newspaper article to reflect that the new enemy was always the enemy, that the new friend was always the friend. Old photographs are doctored, old speeches are revised, and the original documents are dropped into the memory hole, a slot in the wall connected to a vast furnace where inconvenient truths are incinerated. The past is erased, and whoever controls the past controls the future. Whoever controls the present controls the past. This is not a metaphor anymore. Look at how digital history can be edited, deleted, and rewritten. Articles are quietly updated without notation. Tweets are deleted. Videos are removed. Search results are manipulated. The Wayback Machine and archives exist, but how many people actually use them? How many people even know to question whether what they are seeing today is what was originally published? Social media platforms admit to suppressing certain stories during elections, then admit it years later when it no longer matters. Governments work with tech companies to flag and remove content they deem problematic, and what vanishes today is forgotten tomorrow. We used to worry about burning books. Now we should worry about editing them, about algorithms that bury information without destroying it, about a world where the past is infinitely flexible and memory is outsourced to machines controlled by the few. Winston eventually discovers that the party is not content with controlling the future. It must control all of time, every memory, every fact, every feeling. The memory hole is not just a literary device. It is your newsfeed, constantly refreshing, constantly replacing, training you to forget. The sixth concept is the role of perpetual war. In Orwell's world, the three superstates are locked in an endless, shifting conflict. Oceania is at war with Eastasia, and always has been. Until suddenly it was always at war with Eurasia. The wars never end, never have clear objectives, never result in decisive victory. And that is the point. War serves multiple purposes for the party. It justifies surveillance, rationing, sacrifice, and obedience. It provides an external enemy to hate, a focus for aggression that might otherwise turn inward. And most importantly, it consumes resources that might otherwise raise the living standards of the population. An impoverished population is a dependent population. A scared population is a compliant population. A population at war is united against an enemy rather than against its rulers. Now consider the forever wars of the past decades. Wars that cost trillions of dollars, lasted generations, and ended with the same chaos they claimed to prevent. Consider the constant state of emergency, the terrorism threat levels that never seem to decrease, the new enemies that emerge as soon as old ones fade, the defense budgets that grow while infrastructure crumbles. Orwell was not predicting a specific war. He was predicting the concept of permanent crisis as a tool of control. A population in fear does not ask too many questions. A nation at war tolerates what it would never accept in peace. And if the war ever threatens to end, a new enemy will be found. Because the war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous. The seventh and perhaps most heartbreaking concept in 1984 is the destruction of love and human connection. Winston's rebellion is not just political, it is personal. He falls in love with Julia, and their affair becomes an act of defiance. To feel genuine emotion, to experience real intimacy, to have a private life beyond the party's reach, this is the ultimate thought crime. Because if you can love someone more than you love Big Brother, you cannot be fully controlled. The party systematically destroys all human bonds. Children are encouraged to spy on parents. Marriages are arranged without passion. Sex is discouraged except for reproduction. Language is stripped of emotional nuance. And in the end, Winston and Julia are both captured, tortured, and broken. They betray each other. They are forced to betray each other. And when they meet again, there is nothing left. The love is gone. The humanity is gone. They have become exactly what the party wanted them to be. Empty vessels with just enough consciousness to worship Big Brother. Today, genuine human connection is under assault from a different angle. Not through prohibition, but through substitution. We have thousands of online friends and no one to call in a crisis. We have dating apps that reduce romance to a swipe. We have social media that provides the appearance of community without its substance. We are more connected than any generation in history, and more lonely. Suicide rates climb. Mental health crises explode. And we scroll and scroll and scroll, seeking something that the algorithm cannot provide. Orwell understood that totalitarianism's ultimate goal is atomization. Isolated individuals cannot organize. They cannot resist. They cannot even imagine alternatives because they have no one to imagine with. The death of genuine connection is not a side effect of modernity. It may be its purpose. The final and deepest lesson of 1984 is the truth about power itself. When Winston is captured and tortured, he meets O'Brien, a senior party member who reveals the party's true philosophy. And it is not what you might expect. The party does not seek power to build a utopia. It does not believe its own propaganda. It does not have noble goals corrupted by necessary evils. The party seeks power entirely for its own sake. Power is not a means. It is the end. O'Brien tells Winston that the purpose of power is power. The purpose of torture is torture. The purpose of the boot on the human face is the feeling of the boot on the human face. Forever. This is Orwell's most radical and disturbing insight. Many tyrannies justify themselves with ideology. They claim to be building paradise, protecting the people, serving a higher cause. And this gives hope to the oppressed because ideologies can be exposed as false. Utopias can be revealed as impossible. But what if there is no ideology? What if the cruelty is the point? What if power exists simply because those who have it want it, and those who do not cannot stop them? This is the darkness at the heart of 1984, and it is the question we must all ask ourselves. When we look at systems that seem designed to confuse, to impoverish, to divide, to exhaust, are we witnessing incompetence? Or are we witnessing success? Is the chaos a failure of policy? Or is the chaos the policy? Orwell does not offer easy answers. He offers a mirror. And what we see in it depends on how willing we are to look. So what is the final message of 1984? It is not that resistance is futile. It is not that we should give up hope. Orwell wrote this book as a warning, not a prophecy. He believed that understanding the mechanisms of oppression was the first step to preventing them. The novel ends in darkness, but the act of writing it was an act of light. By naming doublethink, he made it harder to practice. By describing Newspeak, he defended the richness of language. By exposing the memory hole, he argued for the importance of preserving truth. The takeaway is this: freedom requires vigilance, truth requires defense, and humanity requires connection. Every time you think critically, you resist. Every time you preserve nuance, you resist. Every time you reach out genuinely to another human being, you resist. Big Brother's greatest weapon is not the telescreen or the thought police. It is your compliance, your exhaustion, your belief that it is too big, too complicated, too hopeless. The moment you stop thinking for yourself, you have already been captured. So keep thinking, keep questioning, keep reading, keep connecting. That is what George Orwell wanted. That is what 1984 demands of us. Not blind optimism, not despair, but the courage to see clearly and the stubbornness to remain human anyway. If this video added value to your life, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown that could change everything. Thanks for watching. Books to Actions.